Hello, this is Arnold. Welcome to my channel. So today we're going to reflect on some of Nipsey's thoughts on cryptocurrencies. So just a little bit background information. Nipsey Hussle was born in 1985 and he died on March 31st, 2019. So Nipsey Hussle emerged from the West Coast hip hop scene in the mid 2000s. And one thing I really found interesting about him is that he independently released his first mixtape. Other than being a rapper, Nipsey was known also as a songwriter, entrepreneur, and an activist. And one thing that Nipsey became known for was his numerous mixtapes. So with that, I see a person who had come to know his audience and had come to know how he could directly reach his audience. He didn't wait for any record company to sign him up to give him that opportunity to talk to his audience. Rather than he went directly to his audience and talked with them. Jay-Z noticed one of Nipsey's mixtape, The Crane Show, and he bought 100 copies of that at $100 each. And later on in 2018, Nipsey released his debut album, The Victory Lap. This album gained a lot of popularity, and it was selected on the 61st Grammy Awards. It was one of the nominated albums in its category. And while most folks look at Crenshaw neighborhood, where he grew up, and see only gangs, bullets, and despair, Nipsey saw potential. Those were Obama's words. And I repeat, Obama said, while most folks look at the Crenshaw neighborhood, where he grew up, and see only gangs, bullets, and despair, Nipsey saw potential. So that is one thing that that Nipsey was really known about, seeing potentials. And in the same breath, he saw this potential in cryptocurrencies. And when he saw that potential in cryptocurrencies, he did the first thing. He invested in cryptocurrencies. Once he invested in cryptocurrencies, he started talking about it. He started making it part of his life. He started talking about how people had missed the previous opportunities. As we know, cryptocurrencies has been around for a while, sometime back in 2009. But then popularity hit in 2017 when most people heard about it. And even despite some people having heard about it, some people still have opted to stay on the sideline. And Nipsey talks about that. He says that don't wait to be the last person to get in. You want to be the first person to get in. He personally got in when the penetration in cryptocurrencies was less than 1%. And at a time when you could not use it to do any transactions. But fast forward, that was about 2 years plus ago. But fast forward to today, 2020, we've seen situations whereby certain retailers are talking about accepting cryptocurrencies. We've seen situations whereby people have booked airline tickets using cryptos. So what we see is some of these things that Nipsey talked about, some of these things that he mentioned, we see where they have actually become actual things. They're here with us today. Nipsey goes ahead and talks about a city where cryptocurrencies has started to be used for day-to-day transactions. That was 2 years ago. And he goes ahead and says that most cities in the world in the future will be like that city. And that was a city in Amsterdam. And Nipsey went ahead and said that if you got into cryptos now, that is 2 years ago, then you will be like a person who is sitting on the right chair when the value spreads, when the penetration becomes more than 1%, when most retailers start accepting cryptocurrencies, when more people can spend their cryptos around the world, when people start becoming their own banks. So what Nipsey saw, the potential that Nipsey saw, reinforced his belief in cryptos. He went ahead and talked about the need to allocate a certain percentage on your investment budget to cryptos. He said that while doing that, you want to invest in such a manner that if some of your investments do good, then they would cover up for those investment in cryptos that do not do good. That do not do good. Nipsey talked about the returns in cryptos not being 10%, not being 7%, but they say that the returns were 700%. This is a couple of years back. So, case in point is when Bitcoin came into the scene back in 2009, it was worth nothing. But fast forward to 2017, one Bitcoin was worth 20,000 US dollars. And it was not just Bitcoin, it was a couple of other cryptocurrencies that had shoot up in value from nothing. Nipsey reminded us that we live in a time when we get real-time updates. We don't have to read newspapers in order to get day-to-day updates. And what I see in that is I see somebody who believed in going directly to the source, not going through any middleman. Case in point is today, most of us depends on banks or financial institutions where we keep our money. We wait on banks to tell us if we are approved or if we are denied. And we line up in bank halls for hours just to get or to talk to them about our money. It is time to do away with these middlemen and to go directly to the source. Nipsey Hussle did this. Nipsey Hussle went directly to the source. He identified an audience. He talked directly to them. He sold his mixtapes from the back of his vehicle, and he saw the results. He saw the value that he was getting, and he talked to us about it. And if asked about his advice to the young folks, Nipsey Hussle said, "Master the craft." After seeing the potential that was in cryptocurrencies and all that, Nipsey talked about the direction that things were heading to, and he said that we're walking into a situation, we're headed in a direction whereby we had the opportunity to become extremely wealthy to a level that the wealth would not go away, and we had an opportunity to create a situation where that would last longer than us. So here I think Nipsey was talking about the opportunity that cryptocurrencies was presenting to most people to create generational wealth. As we know, when it comes to things like generational wealth, it's something that is not talked about in the lower class, or not to say lower class, but in the lower economic categories. It's something that is talked about in the middle class to higher ups. But here's a situation whereby cryptocurrencies was presenting an opportunity for those who had basically nothing to create generational wealth. Nipsey Hussle summarized his view on cryptocurrencies in a nutshell, and he said that banks have a crooked model that engineers and software programmers decided not to fix with a protest or a march on Wall Street, but to fix using technology. Therefore, they created an equalizer that checkmated the whole game. One thing this resulted when he was asked about what he thought about money. Is money just some kind of paper that is printed out, given to you, and you're told that, hey, this has value? Or is money something that has an agreed value, something that those who hold agree that has some value? Or will you wait for the government or the banks to present for you a piece of paper, tell you, hey, this is money, this has value? The other thing that Nipsey said is that cryptos is going to present an opportunity for something that will save you from what happened to you in 2008. For those who are around in 2008, you must have experienced something as a result of what is going on, as a result of that economic crash as a result of that economic downturn. So the things that happen to people during when the economy is not doing good, and Nipsey say that cryptocurrencies is going to present an opportunity, an alternative, not to be able to experience what happens in situations where regular folks depend on the regular, what is known as regular money, as money. And he mentioned that there's a lot of political and financial reasons why paper is presented to us and we're told that it's money. And he said that cryptocurrencies present a great opportunity. He talked about a time when people will be able to send money overseas and not incur any fees. And fast forward to today's date, we are seeing that cryptos has presented an opportunity to be able to send money without having to depend on the regular ways of sending money that have been there since time immemorial. So just to finish this video, we'll look at one last thought that Nipsey had. Nipsey compared the potential that cryptocurrencies was presenting to us to the potential that the internet presented to some of the big companies that today have become big as a result of the internet. So basically what he said was that the internet, the cryptocurrencies is to us today what the internet was to them back then. So this is somebody who saw potentials, who always saw opportunities, and he always went for the opportunities. And with that, we'll come to the end of this video. Thank you for your time. See you in the next video.